president, when President Trump reinstated that CPC designation. And here's why. Because we know that there has to be some external pressure to help change and shape behavior. And as we were moving through this and we were having our briefings and we were understanding what was going on, and I believe, if he hasn't spoken already, I believe Riley Moore will be here as well, and some of the work that he had done. We were in on some joint hearings, and I knew that I wanted to get a trip over to Nigeria. We had a very compressed calendar with what was going on, but I had a dedicated and great group of folks, bipartisan group, that went over December 19. We were there till December 22. Yes, do the math. It was more time on airplanes than it was on the ground, but it was very, very effective. When we landed on Saturday, we almost immediately went into a dinner with the head of the NSA, Mr. Rabadu, and Minister Musa, and a number of others. The foreign minister was not there. He was with the president. He was with President Tinubu in Lagos at the time. But it was a large, productive, long dinner, and I thought that was helpful. At the end of that dinner, I was talking to Minister Musa, former General Musa, and he was asking, well, what does tomorrow look like? And I indicated to him that we would be actually going to a church service, a Christian Reformed church service, and the head of the Christian Reformed Church Nigeria, Reverend Magaji, has become a good friend, and he and I had never met in person, but we had met a number of times over Zoom. And we were going to the church, and Minister Musa said, where is it, and what's the name of it, and I may join you. Well, sure enough, he came. And I felt like that was a bit of a turning point. I hope it was a turning point. He ended up doing a number of interviews after the church service as well, where he reinforced this notion of this not just being hooligans and people that were out. He was calling them out with ill intent. He was calling them terrorists, and I think that's the appropriate language to be using. And no doubt, Nigeria is extremely complicated. There's a number of factors. I keep getting asked by the media, yeah, but this isn't just about religion. And as I actually said to a reporter yesterday, I said, could you tell me what conflict in the world is only about religion? Right? It's about power. It is about money. It's about a number of things that always are happening there. But I think some of my colleagues are denying the flip side of the coin when they say, well, this is just about herdsmen and property owners and conflict. Well, they are missing the other side of that coin, which is the religious motivation behind oftentimes those actions. And we have to acknowledge that. They haven't seemed to have been able to acknowledge that. I hope that they're able to come along and understand that and be able to acknowledge that. But you know, we saw the strike happen on Christmas Day. I kind of wondered to myself if they would have maybe delayed it a little bit because we were in country. I'm glad we didn't find out. But we still saw, however, attacks afterwards, and we know that this has not been fixed. Now, I'm not anticipating that this is a just flip a switch kind of moment, but we have to see a commitment, not just words, out of the Tinubu government. We have to see actions. As part of our meetings that we had there, we met with the governor of Plateau State as well, and heard his perspective about some legislative actions that were going on, about the debate about whether states should have their own police force as well versus just relying on a national police force that oftentimes isn't as responsive as it needs to be. The debate about whether others besides the Fulani who should be able to have weapons for self-defense. There's a number of debates that are happening within Nigeria, and I'll let the Nigerians sort through that But I believe one of my job and one of our jobs writ large here is to check in, make sure that they know that we are watching, we are paying attention, we are taking this serious, and we need to see serious actions on their part as well. Part of that was Chairman Smith's resolution that I'm proud to co-lead that really confirmed the President's CPC designation. It calls out the Fulani Herdsmen Association and some other organizations like that who I believe meet the criteria for being sanctioned, for having some tougher scrutiny put to them. But we know that there's a long ways to go on Nigeria. Just pleased to be a part of hopefully what is going to be a solution. I'm just pleased to see the U.S. government and the President and Congress rising up and saying this isn't acceptable. And I've said this before in some interviews. We cannot allow another Rwanda to potentially happen. And what happens when we wake up one day and that is the case? We would have nobody to blame but ourselves. So this is, I believe, the proper actions. And I think I also was asked yesterday by this reporter, well, what was the message that you wanted sent when you were there? First and foremost, it was, hey, we are watching. And I can tell you, showing up that close to Christmas, there was a number of people that ended up coming back to Abuja because they understood that we were serious when we were showing up and asking for meetings on December 20 and December 21, the week of Christmas. That sent a message in and of itself. But two, we wanted to let them know that, look, the CPC designation is not a permanent mark. This is something you can earn your way off of. This is a list you can get off of, as long as you are doing the proper actions to get off of that list. And I think the other message was an understanding of how important Nigeria is, not just to the success of West Africa, but to the success of all of Africa, and by extension, the entire world. With the largest economy on the continent, largest population, the potential that is there, and one of my direct messages was, you talk about the United States and sort of how we all came together. That was one of the discussion points. One of those things that allowed us to be successful is stability. And right now, Nigeria is not stable. And it is the government's job to make sure that that stability comes along. And we can be there to help. I think I retweeted this yesterday. There was a military transport that had landed with some equipment and some things to help. We want to make sure it's more than just military equipment. That is not going to do it. You have to have the will to change what is happening. And it was a reasonably productive conversation, but as I've said before, actions speak louder than words. And we are going to be watching very closely the actions of the Tinubu government and others to make sure that they are following through on what they say is their goals and objectives. So that's a little bit of the update from our trip. It's hard to believe it was less than a month ago. It seemed like it was January's been a long year, right? There's been a lot that's happened already this year in 13, 14 days. But again, I just want to say thank you for what your work is and what you are doing. This is important to make sure that you are lending a voice to those that oftentimes don't have a voice, and that's a godly goal. So, congratulations on that. Appreciate it. Thank you.